Hello viewers and welcome again to one of my informational videos.
Today, we are moving away from the usual and taking a look at some of my experiences over the years. After 39 years in the safety profession, I've learned that textbook theories and best practices, more often than not, collide with workplace realities. The field is full of well-intentioned advice that sounds great in conference rooms but struggles to survive first contact on the ground. Here are the 10 hardest truths I've discovered, lessons that changed how I have approached safety. Compliance versus commitment. The Great Divide. There's a crucial difference between checking boxes and genuinely caring about safety outcomes. I learned this when I discovered our site with the highest audit scores also had the most unreported near-miss incidents. Compliance is mechanical. Workers follow procedures because they must. They wear PPE when supervised, attend mandatory training while mentally checked out, and complete safety checklists because required. When oversight disappears, so does the behavior. Commitment runs deeper. It's the worker adjusting a colleague's harness unprompted, the supervisor stopping work when something feels wrong, and teams reporting near misses to prevent injuries, not because policy demands it. The challenge, commitment, cannot be mandated. It emerges from trust, understanding, and genuine belief that safety measures protect people, not just satisfy regulations. I've seen organizations with perfect compliance records suffer serious incidents because their safety culture was built on fear of consequences rather than care for people. The lesson: stop celebrating perfect audit scores and start measuring discretionary safety behaviors. When workers voluntarily exceed minimum requirements, you're building commitment, not just compliance. Keep it simple. Complexity kills safety. I once inherited a lockout-tagout procedure that was 57 pages long. No one followed it correctly, not because they didn't care, but because it was impossibly complex. Working with the commissioning manager, we redesigned it into a simple, visual, one-page guide. Compliance improved overnight. In our eagerness to be thorough and cover every conceivable scenario, we often create systems so complex they become safety hazards themselves. Workers faced with complicated procedures will either skip steps, make assumptions, or abandon the process entirely. None of these outcomes serve safety. Simplicity isn't about dumbing things down. It's about distilling complex processes into their essential elements. It's the difference between a 20-step procedure covering every edge case and a 5-step procedure handling 90% of situations effectively. For the remaining 10%, provide additional resources, but don't burden everyone with complexity that rarely applies. The best safety systems are intuitive. When new workers can look at your safety procedure and immediately understand what to do, you've achieved something powerful. When they need multiple documents, extensive training, and still feel uncertain, you've created a barrier to safety. The lesson: if you can't explain your safety procedure in under 2 minutes, it's too complex. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. Frontline workers often have safety concerns. But why aren't they voicing them? The silence isn't because problems don't exist. It's because workers have learned that raising concerns often brings more problems than solutions. I discovered this when a welder revealed he'd worried about ventilation for months, but never reported it, because the last person who raised a concern was assigned to investigate it themselves, adding workload without additional time or resources. Workers stay quiet because they've seen concerns dismissed or ignored, fear being labeled troublemakers, don't trust that action will be taken, or have learned that raising issues creates more bureaucracy than actual solutions. Sometimes they've adapted workarounds and don't realize these indicate systemic problems. Creating psychological safety for reporting requires demonstrating that concerns lead to meaningful action, that reporting problems is valued rather than penalized, and that workers won't be burdened with solving every issue they identify. The most effective approach is regular, informal conversations during routine work observations. Instead of asking, "Do you have any safety concerns?" try, "What's the most annoying part of this task?" Or, "If you could change one thing about this process, what would it be?" These questions often reveal safety issues that formal reporting systems miss. The lesson, the absence of reported concerns, doesn't indicate the absence of problems. It indicates the presence of barriers to reporting. Focus on removing those barriers, not just encouraging more reports. Not everyone cares about safety as much as you do. This was perhaps the most difficult truth to accept. As safety professionals, we're passionate about preventing injuries and protecting lives. We assume everyone shares this passion, but they don't, and that's normal. Most workers care about safety in the context of their own well-being and immediate colleagues, but they don't share your organizational level perspective. They're focused on getting their job done efficiently while staying safe enough. Safety isn't their primary responsibility, it's just one factor in their workday. This doesn't make them careless. A maintenance technician might genuinely care about safety while prioritizing equipment uptime. A production supervisor might value worker well-being while feeling pressure to meet output targets. These aren't contradictions, they're competing priorities, requiring balance. Instead of trying to convert everyone into safety evangelists, focus on making safety integration seamless with their existing priorities. Show how safe practices support productivity, quality, and job satisfaction. Help them understand that shortcuts compromising safety often compromise other goals as well. The lesson: meet people where they are, not where you think they should be. Effective safety leadership works with natural motivations rather than against them. No accident equals safety. The dangerous illusion. I learned this lesson with a client whose injury rates were at an all-time low, but near-miss reports had virtually disappeared. They weren't getting safer. They were getting less aware of how unsafe they were becoming. Measuring safety by the absence of incidents is like measuring health by the absence of symptoms. It's a lagging indicator that only tells you about problems after they've caused harm. Worse, it creates incentives to hide problems rather than address them. Organizations celebrating injury-free days often inadvertently punish reporting. When a near miss ends a celebrated streak, focus shifts to the report rather than the underlying hazard. Workers learn to keep quiet, and management develops false confidence in their safety performance. Real safety is visible in leading indicators: active hazard identification, proactive risk management, high-quality incident investigations, meaningful safety conversations, and continuous improvement activities. These behaviors prevent incidents rather than just counting them. The paradox is that the safest organizations often have higher reported near-miss rates because they've created environments where problems are identified and addressed before they cause harm. They measure safety by how well they find and fix problems, not by how well they avoid finding them. The lesson: absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Focus on building systems that actively identify and address hazards, rather than just counting the incidents that slip through. Well, that's it for this video. We will look at the rest in my next chapter. Have a safe and healthy day.